this sector focus accelerator incubators which are coming up, which is highly needed right now. Because someone who is working exclusively on a specialized technology or a specialized domain, he need to approach an incubator which is dealing with rest of the domains as well. But the standalone incubators, accelerators which are focusing on sector specific will definitely be a boon for these startups or aspirants who want to work on specific areas.
Any more thoughts on that, Vivek, Srikanth? Sector-specific accelerators, do you think they really bring something onto the table?
I think it would benefit for sure because you're interacting with people who are very much in the same domain. So there will be a lot more focused conversation which will happen rather than a generic accelerator or incubator, because the discussions are very generic. So both have advantages and disadvantages again. Because in a generic conversation, you're at least getting to hear different perspectives. And sometimes that's a value that can get added. But coming to specific, which are domain specific, they do have the advantage of at least having a lot of knowledge in that domain, which even the accelerator will help you get. So it's not about just the participants of the accelerator or incubator, but even the incubator which will be knowledgeable in that area. So I think it will certainly help to take them to the next level. I certainly think so.
I think I have a very different opinion on these accelerator and incubators also. I think like I can, maybe you can question any genuine entrepreneur. If I have a thought, I don't mind putting a plastic chair there and giving a computer, I don't mind starting doing something. If you look, there is a misconception, like today a lot of incubators, right? You have a nice chair, nice environment, nice AC, there's internet, all those things, right? See, most of these entrepreneurs are not lack of them. Because most of the companies are born in the garages, like, I'm very frankly, if I have a thought, bus stand is enough for me to start coding it. You don't need anything other than laptop, most of the apps and everything, right?
Then I'll ask you one more question on that. If we have so many entrepreneurs who are so gritty and A-listers, then we would be having more fabulous companies from India than we have currently.
There's a problem, right? It's all the problem with India is the availability of the risk capital. I don't see this incubator and the accelerators are providing that. The risk capital is not there. Today, right, the other problem with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startups, see like now from last 10 years to now, a lot of families could afford 50 lakh to 1 crore as a burning capital. A lot of these kids, they think, oh, I don't want to work, I want to start a company. Right? It's like their thing is, it's not a thought actually. It's like I don't want to work for somebody. That is a misconception with the 90% of the entrepreneurs. I don't want to work for somebody. I want to start a company right after college. My father or my uncle or one of my friends can give me 1 crore or 10 lakhs or whatever it is. I start a company. And see, they themselves are not convinced with the business. Now you go and talk to these like all the mentors or whatever advisories, then they just fall into that whole like ocean and you flood. And that's why the failure rate of startups are very, very high. See, the startup has to be started by a genuine thought. Right? There is a burning desire, something. Then you need to believe it that for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, whatever the world is saying it, you believe in it, start executing it. And at the same time, you don't have to burn your money also. A lot of, like, see, right, like they burn 30, 40 lakhs and they don't know what to do it. And they went into it. And the accelerator incubators are not providing the risk capital to them. You have a burning desire, you go and pitch. And then in India, you don't have anybody can write a check like 100K, 200K. And that is not there. There is no way you can build these companies. That's the biggest problem with the Indian whole startup ecosystem.
Can we just continue with the same question? What is the biggest problem you see?
So I would like to, sir, I'll take your opinion because you have a different approach. I'll feel really happy like if a lot of entrepreneurs really be like you, think like you, that I have an idea, I'll perform it. But today's scenario, if you see, a lot of entrepreneurs, they themselves come forward seeking some kind of support, advice or mentorship. Okay. So Vivek is sitting next to me. Before as a mentor, is an active investor also. I see Vivek he puts money and then he'll say, I'm also open to advise and mentor. So people come to him not just for mentoring, because he's also an active investor on that. So he's putting his capital, it's a risk capital, not expecting return, but is also volunteering for that. Why I'm saying this, because today things are changing because of so much of awareness, so much of information and a lot of resources available. It's a good opportunity for a lot of individuals, aspirants who want to start their own ventures, right? So because of the not having much of experience, they really seek some kind of guidance or a channel or a path. I agree, like not every incubator or accelerator may not provide that risk capital, but I could see a great value, because even as an investment forum, what we see is we always also partner with a lot of incubators. Simple reason, because most of the startups who go through the rigorous process of this incubation program, I feel some kind of discipline in them. When I say discipline, they get learned about a lot of things and they try to avoid a lot of risk which they would have done without having any support. So I agree, probably your perception is different, but today scenario is happening in the...
1 second. No, I think, don't mistake me, right? We always come across 1 out of 100, a good guy, and you want to invest and mentor it or whatever it is, right? I'm not talking about the one good guy, I'm talking about what is happening 90%. So the other thing, right, the one other comment I want to see, so that's exactly my point, right? If a guy is not sure about what he's doing, he's not qualified to start a company. Don't mistake me, but I'm saying that you need some more time. You need to work at 2-3 places. You need some more maturity. If you cannot convict yourself or you cannot justify yourself, and you need a lot of help and a lot of things, I think I tell people to just wait. Maybe you can work for, nothing wrong working for others, right? You learn. And you are not ready for the entrepreneurship. That's my strong suggestion.
I'd like to just add that, in my view, as I see it, there are 5 stages to a startup. An ideation stage, a stage where you're trying to convert that idea into a purpose or into a vision or into something like that. Then comes the valuation stage, then comes the value creation, and then comes the wealth creation. As I see it, these are the 5 stages, and that's the evolution entrepreneurs need to go. The unfortunate part, as I see in the ecosystem today, at a lot of times, is that we get stuck either at the second stage or at the third stage. Very few of us are able to pass the third stage and get to what I call value creation. And I keep talking about this to a lot of people I work with, that a startup has to differentiate between valuation and value creation. Because only when they are able to do that differentiation is when they will evolve and go to creating unicorns and creating successful businesses. And what you said, most people are today looking at 1 crore, I want 5 crores. Anyone today who has an idea, has an aspiration for a $1 million funding, based on just idea. I have an idea and I need 1 crore valuation, and I'm willing to dilute 10% stake. And for that 10%, you know what? You've got to do all the work. Because now I have brought you in, and now you have to help me find customers, you have to help me become profitable, you have to help me grow geographies. So the question is that, are we creating the right value system in our entrepreneurs to say that this is not about starting at ideation and stopping at valuation. It is about going further than valuation, which is value creation, which will eventually lead to wealth creation. So I'm not for a minute saying that we become saints and we say it's not about wealth. But wealth comes as the 5th stage in my evolution theory rather than at the 2nd stage. Whereas a lot of people today are focused on valuation. And you say, what is the purpose of your startup? It is to get 1 million valuation. If that's the purpose of your startup, then my suggestion is shut your startup and go and do a job. Because you are more suited for a job, you're not suited for a startup. If you are saying, I want to create 10,000 jobs and I want to create a 10,000 crore industry in this country, then you are thinking like an entrepreneur, because you are already thinking like stage 4 or stage 5. And I think that's the difference. If we have to kind of modify our incubators, our accelerators, our startup ecosystem, is to do that encouragement to start thinking in much bigger terms of value creation and wealth creation.
Sure,
I
thank you.
100% agree with you, sir. 100% agree. So see, I'm saying more to the entrepreneurs than the people sitting here. So that's exactly I'm saying, right? The entrepreneurs, you have three, four steps to cross. You have your own, right? Because a lot of people, like, as soon as they want to start a company, they think like they assume a fancy office. You don't need to have a fancy offices. You work hard, you prove something, then come to it. And as I think the gentleman said, the process and policies and all the things. I said like it's after like a while. Now like I run a business, I started creating my revenues, whatever it is. Now like I think like I have to behave like a much more matured company. And then I'll go and hire like HR, I go on the legal counsel, I go and hire whatever the department I hire, and I ask them to make it more process policy oriented. But the early stage of startups, I think it's a lot responsibility on the entrepreneur. You need to have your conviction. If you're not sure about your idea, you're not sure about the impact of the idea to the end mass, I think you're not there. It's like you may run like for 3 years, 4 years, but that's not going to really create a real thing out of it.
Sure. Thank you. Just one point that you were saying about risk capital. Is there a dearth of risk capital? Is there early stage funding? Is there a problem with early stage funding in Hyderabad, in India?
I would say so. I mean, not just Hyderabad, or I think in India. It is there. So I mean, if you're looking for that kind of money, I think the entire ecosystem in India itself has to mature and evolve. And of course, I mean, again, I'm no pope because I'm speaking from the investor side. So it's, if somebody has to be blamed, then it has to start from us. But then again, all of us are responsible, accountable for the money that we invest. We invest somebody else's money. So the risk appetite is only so much. And hopefully we'll see a lot more, success, and therefore the risk appetite will grow. But long and short of it is yes, I think the risk appetite is less.
I think, Vinita, it's large. It's an issue which is slightly larger in my view, that it is about the ecosystem. Because in my view, the risk appetite has probably gone down. Also because the dishes being served to that appetite are not up to it so far. A lot of times people have taken the risk and gone and made investments basis a wrong assessment or a wrong projection, and hence people have become even more skeptical. So if there are good companies, if there are good businesses, if there are good compelling stories, and I go back a lot of times to the fact that it is about how good is your story. If you are a good storyteller and you have a good story, both are important. If you are a good storyteller and you have a good story, then I personally don't see the risk appetite to be a problem, because there are enough companies who are still getting funded. A lot of companies do get funded. A lot of them are struggling. So I'm not sure if that's that much of an issue with the risk capital is as much an issue with the story that people are bringing to the table and how compelling are those businesses for people to make investments. So I think it's slightly larger than just the lack of risk capital. I think it's the fact that the ecosystem needs to be kind of taken to the next level.
And also, like Srikanth was saying, probably we didn't see the returns yet. As a country, we still, as our investors still didn't see the good times.
It's early days. It's early days for a lot of investors also. It's early days. I think as an ecosystem in India itself, it's early days. We can't really be comparing to the valley because it's not the same. It's not the same from a evolution stage perspective. It's not the same from an ecosystem perspective. So yes, I think we are evolving, and in my view, we are evolving quite fast.
Sanjay, more thoughts?
Yeah, so today you see like so many startups are getting funded, right? And in the early stage, I also see a lot of people also, HNIs or any corporate heads, they also want to come forward and invest in startups. So everyone is aware of the fact that when you invest in startup, it's not a guaranteed return. So definitely it's going to encourage a startup. And today if you see most of the investors, you ask them, why do you invest and what makes you invest in the company? He never says about the monetary part. He only says this model is good, this is going to be the problem solver, or this team is really awesome, and all this kind of, and I never find people emphasizing, or at the time of giving a check, they'll ask like, will I get my principal back? So definitely people understand the kind of risk involved, and then take a conscious call to invest in that company.
Just on the investment side, I'm sure Vivek and Shrikant, Sanjay, you know guys, Estonia is a really small country, but the number of angels in that place is astounding. For a country as big as ours, do you think we have enough people? What do you think are the things that we should do as ecosystem players to encourage more senior level employees or more entrepreneurs to come, invest in early stage companies? What are the steps that we should take? How do you enable more angel investors? How do you educate investors?
Okay, so I don't know what answer Vinuta was expecting, but I actually tell a lot of people who come to me to raise money to not to raise money, and a lot of people who come to me saying I want to invest, and I tell them don't invest. Because it's very important that each one of them understands why they are taking the capital, and for the other person, why the person is investing. Therefore, I think it's like, you need to obviously understand how this whole thing works. Second thing is you have the risk appetite and the capital. And this is probably the riskiest of asset class to be kind of associated with, right? So it's not about tutoring, it's not about educating beyond a point. I think it's about you should come prepared, A, with the mindset, B, with the resources and the credentials and knowledge. And then you are probably there for investment, right? Just like an entrepreneur, even for an investor, it's a very long haul game. It's not about like, you just invest in 6 months or 1 year, you're looking for an exit. It's not that simple. So, that's what my answer would be.
I think in terms of how do we develop the ecosystem, how do we bring more people in, I think one of the things that we need to do is to demystify. Because for a lot of people today, investor is a very big term and is an entity which a lot of people don't understand. It is slowly changing, which is where when Sanjay said a lot of corporates, as in corporate employees, who are also coming forward to become investors, which was not the case maybe 5 years ago. And I think that's happening because people are beginning to understand seed capital, angel investment. So these are not people who are making every check of 2 crore investment. For a lot of people, that's the understanding that, if I have to become an investor, I have to write a check of 1 crore. And I'm not there yet, and hence I'm not going to get into this fray. And that's a separate discussion I've been having, that we need to find a method to demystify a lot of these things and tell people that, one, it is about the risk and you've got to be prepared for risk. And second, it is not about every investment being 1 crore. It is about small investments because you will take baby steps. And once you've understood the system, once you understand the whole process of investment, maybe you'll start writing 1 crore checks, but that's not how the journey of investors start. And I think if we are able to do as an ecosystem more demystification, we'll probably get more people to join the network of investors, and then the whole journey can probably change.
Sanjay, can you quickly tell us, what do you think an angel investor in 3 or 4 bullet points, how many years can he look for an exit? What should be a typical mindset, just for any people in the audience who are wondering what angel investment is all about?
And the Nobel Committee is sitting here. Can you give the answer? If you are able to give the right answer, the next Nobel
They're saying what an investor should look in a startup.
how long should it be for it?
So definitely an angel investor should look into certain points in any startup. So as VC and most of our investors also look at is, the first most important thing is the person who is coming up with an idea, how passionate he is about it, and the idea itself along with the business model, and his analysis about that particular model into the market, and is it right time that product is or service is getting into the market, and overall the revenue monetization, whether this can really make money or this company can scale, or it can grow from 10x to 100x over a period of time. So these are key factors where investors really look, and even startups, unfortunately a lot of startups just come with an ideation or with a simple early prototype and expect huge money with a very high valuation. I'm sure now investors are not going to buy such kind of ideas. You need to be really very practical when you meet any guy. As an investor, definitely when he's investing, somewhere back of his mind, he wants the company to grow and to win, and that definitely will lead to some kind of return. So typically if today you see any early startups, when they invest in a seed level, it's 3 to 5 years where an investor can get an exit or return. It's an exit for the investor, not for the company again.
Any other closing thoughts? Then we can open up for Q&A.
The other thing, right? So the other thing, I agree with some of you guys, right? I always see, right, like if you look at India, our closest comparable would be China. I think as India, right, we are a conservative society. And if you look at, right, today your banks are giving 9% FD, right? Why should I even go and bet on a completely different thing, right? And you go and invest into the stock market, you have a short-term and long-term capital gains. If I go and invest into the startup, I don't even have a tax benefits. And if you look at, right, everybody, we see that, okay, China is creating this many brands and this many products, this many companies, whereas India, we couldn't do it. The reason, right, the lot of capital, free capital came from the governments. So that's a huge thing we see, like, is the emerging markets, right, like, even everybody, the money came to the investor or whoever is owning the money, it came through the lot of hard work, right? And you cannot just throw it out because you are not there, like you have not done the spinning 2-3 times where I can say, I can just put it on betting on this money actually. So I believe, right, I think somewhere the Indian governments has to give this free money, that risk capital, put it on table, and there is a committee, there is a private and public partnership. That's where I think is the dynamics will change. Maybe it's like the angel investor, he has like 10 other investors sitting on his head, the fund, but they don't want to lose the money. And that whole thing, right, the government has to come up with a policy. Whatever the current policy is like completely nonsense. There's no use of that policy actually.
Srikanth, any advice to startups looking for mentors?
Open to questions.
Yeah, any questions? Should I be louder?
That just means either we totally confused them or they completely understood what we were saying. One of the two happened. Just as a closing remark, Vinuta, what I would like to add is that when you're looking to find mentors, investors, coaches, I think the only advice I will have is for you as an entrepreneur to get clarity in your own mind as to what you're looking for. A lot of times we kind of go out and explore and say, let me meet people and then I'll figure out what I need from them. And in my view, sometimes that's the wrong way of doing it. It's probably better for you to sit down with yourself, even before you sit with your team, just with yourself to say, what's my passion, what's my vision, what's my dream of what I want to do in my enterprise. And for doing this, what do I possess as skills and knowledge, and what do I not possess, and where do I go and find them? So then when I am having an interaction with a possible investor, mentor, coach, I can kind of resonate and say, okay, this was my weakness, and I can see a person having that skill, so I should have a dialogue to see, can I bring him on board as any one of the 3 categories depending on the person you're meeting. But I think the clarity in your own mind is the most important thing for you to be able to find, because like we've said, there must be alignment. That alignment can only come when you have clarity yourself, because then you can align with someone else who's bringing something to the table.
Anything else from you?
So whatever he says, so I would like to, sir, I'd like to ask one question to you, sir. So because you said like you have a different approach. If any startup approach you, sir, can you mentor me? What would be your response?
I say no. It's simple, right? Because there's no mentorship here for me. Man, you see. Hello. See, it's like this, right? I think there is a, like, as Vivek rightly said, right? There is a difference between a coach, mentor, and seeking advice. I say if the guy is coming and starting a business and coming and asking me, how should I do it? I said, man, you go and work. You are not even qualified to become a entrepreneur yet. Right? You have a lot more steps to run. Right? It's like, see, the guy has to come and convince me, put out his story. Whatever he's doing is right. It could be wrong, but that's like a strong heart you need to have, brave heart you need to have.
But they learn only from people who know,
That's
right?
exactly right. There is a huge difference between the entrepreneur and others. The entrepreneur never bothered about learning. He thinks whatever is right, like you just go with that. See, of course, right, we all make mistakes and you have to learn from mistakes. Right? Don't think somebody will come and tell you and you learn and go and do it, right? That guy would have been successful more than you. Right? I don't believe in all those, like, just have a gut feeling, start running. If you fail, then you learn from that experience. And of course, right, starting to looking at it, a lot of people around you, you learn by yourself, reading the stories, looking at the people, how the companies are doing, what is their roadmap, how am I relevant with myself with the Google, Amazon, Apple, whoever it is, right? You learn by yourself. That's your talent. If you don't have a talent of learning by yourself, you are not qualified to become an entrepreneur.
But actually at least I can say, I come across people who are probably 35 and all. They started up early and they just went and did what they did and they failed. And they probably took up a job and now they are at 35 where they have a family, they have baggage and they can't really leave all that and get into entrepreneurship. So in
somebody with 2 kids and a wife and comes and says, I want to take a risk and do it, and either his family has to support him or I tell him that somewhere, right, you work for a startup, you make a fortune out of it. I work for a startup, so I made my fortune. Now I can take any risk and, like, say if somebody say that, okay, let's start a company but we cannot take a salary for 2 years, I'm willing to do that. So you need to wait for your time to come in. You may have a burning desire. It's nothing, right? Never think like entrepreneurship is you have to start a company. Today that's one of the like, whenever, like, we pretty much hire one of the top talent in the industry. Everybody, I say that here is options, here is the salary. If you have EMIs, a lot of time I actually negotiate salary and what is their EMIs. I ask them what is your monthly burn rate at home. Somebody says 2 lakhs, somebody says 1 lakh. I say I'll give it, remaining would be your options. And then now like at least family is safe, come and work. And like maybe, right, this is your fortune, we all make a fortune. Then after this money, you make this like exit or whatever it is, you go and start whatever you want to do it. Sure. A lot of times, right, you have to make a calculated decisions.
Thank you. So no more questions. As Vivek said, we were very, very, very clear. Okay, there.
Good afternoon, Vivek. This question is to Mr. Vivek. As you said, there are 5 phases in the entrepreneurship. And in which phase the funds need to be pumped in?
Actually, it will depend. First disclaimer, when in India for any question, there's one simple answer.
Right.
And the answer is, it depends. Okay, so I will start the answer of this question also with, it depends on the fact that, what is it that you are doing as a business and what is it that you require the funds for. So to answer your question, I would tend to think that the fund infusion into the business should be delayed as far as possible. So for some businesses, because the business itself requires so much fund that an individual is not able to do, they must bring it at a very early stage as a seed fund.
That's right.
But for my advice to most people, and I invest as an investor, is that don't bring on an investor till you don't need to. Because while an investor is a very good, important, strategic person to bring on board, but delay it as far as possible for two reasons. One, because it gives you the freedom to take the product and the vision to a stage that you had anticipated it to take it to. That's one. And second, it helps you create value for your product or service before people invest. Because why should you kind of underserve yourself by bringing in somebody very early and hence doing much less valuation into your business? You should rather build the prototype, take it to market, do some pivot, do some pilots,